Okay, so here's basically the deal. There was something that happened with the SSA right at the end of Commissioner Martin O'Malley's, time with the Social Security Administration, which was just short of a year. He came in December of 2023. He left at the very end of November of basically, 2024, because he knew the moment Trump got in, he would essentially be fired. So Carolyn Colvin will be taking the acting commissioner seat. And then after this video, we'll be talking about the new person that will be in control of your Social Security benefits. But for this video, we're going to be talking about what's happening to the employees at the SSA. And it's interesting. It's maybe not what I would say the best choice going forward. Let's talk about it real quick. Here we go. CNN article. As Trump's DOGE plans crackdown, Social Security Union secures telework deal. So many Social Security Administration union members, right? So the union members of the employees of the SSA, they're all part of a big union. They recently locked in an agreement. There was a contract that they all signed that will allow them to telework into 2029, meaning it was really important to the SSA employees for them to continue to work for the SSA to be able to have the option of doing telework. Otherwise, lots of them would quit. Okay, that's the reality. And they're already at a 50-year low, which means the SSA has to do whatever it can to keep its employees happy. Tens of thousands of Social Security Administration staffers can continue teleworking into 2029 under a recent deal signed between their union and the agency, right? So between the SSA staff union and the Social Security Administration. The agreement comes as the incoming Trump administration and its newly created Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, or DOGE, will vow to require federal workers to return to the office full-time in an effort to cull their numbers. The updated contract deal locks in the current levels of telework for the American Federation of Government Employee members at the agency until late October of 2029. According to a letter written by Rich Couture of AFGE General Committee spokesperson and head of the union's council 215, and viewed by CNN, the agreement was signed by SSA Commissioner Martin O'Malley just before he stepped down to run for Democrat National Committee chair. So put another way, is basically Commissioner Martin O'Malley wanted to cement being the greatest commissioner of the SSA to the employees, to the claimants, to the adjudicators, the judges. I think that's a fair title at this point. I mean, it's going to take a lot to beat him on what he achieved during that time. Now, this deal, here's a quote, will secure not just telework for SSA employees, but will secure staffing levels through prevention of higher attrition, which in turn will secure the ability of the agency to serve the public, Couture wrote. And what they're saying in fancy ways there is the SSA is in an employment crisis. They can't lose more employees because they're already in a shit show state. So they got to keep as many people as they can. And the best way to keep more people is to allow them to work from home because that makes them happy. Depending on their job at the Social Security Administration, AFGE members have to report to the office between 2 and 5 days a week. Well, technically, the only 5-dayer was basically the commissioner of the SSA. The union, although they might have changed something, I didn't read the full agreement yet. The union, that's what was the original deal under Commissioner Martin O'Malley. The union represents 42,000 workers at the agency, which employs almost 60,000 people. The agency noted that the deal did not expand its telework practices. So basically, I'm pretty sure they're just going off of what Commissioner Martin O'Malley gave them when he first came in. Quote, the Social Security Administration memorialized its pre-existing telework policy into its existing contract with AFGE that was already effective through 2029, a spokeswoman said. The agreement was first reported by Bloomberg News. All right, now here's the deal. The DOGE, which is like the department that's going to really crack down on the federal government, make it more efficient. President-elect Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency and a non-governmental initiative headed by billionaire Elon Musk and former Republican presidential candidate and biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy is hoping to cut the federal workforce. So, they're trying to cut down on how many people actually work for the gov because the federal government is the biggest employer out there. Massive, absolutely massive, which would reduce federal spending by ending employees' ability to telecommute. So basically what they're saying is if they can go ahead and not allow employees to telecommute, it would significantly reduce the amount of employees that work for the federal government, because people who have become accustomed to, telecommuting, working from home, stuff like that, are not going to want to continue to work for the government, and therefore they will quit, and therefore the government will become cheaper to run. Quote, requiring federal employees to come to the office 5 days a week would result in a wave of voluntary terminations that we welcome. If federal employees don't want to show up, American taxpayers shouldn't pay them for the COVID-era privilege of staying home. Musk and Ramaswamy, I have a hard time pronouncing his name, wrote in a recent Wall Street Journal op-ed. The pair plans to speak with Republican House and Senate members on Thursday about the DOGE. Some Democrats on Capitol Hill have expressed support for the initiative. Okay, the telework privileges for many unionized federal workers are part of their collective bargaining agreements, making it more difficult to change the terms without negotiations. Roughly 2.3 million civilians work for the federal government, according to an August Office of Management and Budget report, which looked at 24 agencies that employ about 98% of the federal civilian workforce. Remember, the civilian workforce, they're not like government military people. The government military people, they can say, guess what? You got to march that way. Guess what? You got to jump that way. Whereas the civilians, they got more options. You know what I mean? They're not like under the claw, Just over half, or 1.2 million, work fully in person since their jobs require them to be physically present. The remaining 1.1 million staffers are eligible for telework. About 228,000 employees, or 10% of the total, are in fully remote positions and are not expected to work in person on a regular basis. Overall, federal employees who are eligible to telecommute spend just over 61% of their regular working hours in person. The OMB found, so basically 61% of the time they're at the office, the other 39% of the time they're at home. Under the Biden administration, the OMB has pushed agencies to increase the time telework eligible employees spend in the office. So just to be fair, OMB, even during Biden's era, has been basically trying to increase the time telework eligible employees have to get back to office. So this isn't really just like a Trump thing. Biden was pushing to get more employees back to the office. Okay. Now, let me read to you exactly what the AFGE Local 2006 Facebook page noted so that you can understand the message that this union posted about this situation. Good morning. I'll read it in their excited postage voice. Here we go. Good morning. Thanks to the persistent and diligent efforts of the General Committee in advocating for telework with agency leadership over the last year, we are happy to announce that we have secured a deal that places current levels of telework into our national agreement through October 25th, 2029. The deal also locks in the terms of the GC's episodic telework and split days MOU into the contract while removing language from Article 141 regarding elimination or termination of the telework program that would contradict the changes to maintain current levels of telework. We cannot thank Commissioner Martin O'Malley enough, who signed this deal himself, for his commitment to the SSA employees and the continued high-quality public service we provide both at the ODS and the ADS. This deal will secure not just telework for SSA employees, but will secure staffing levels through prevention of higher attrition, which in turn will secure the ability of the agency to serve the public. This is a win for employees and for the American public. More information for our representatives will follow in the coming days. Stay tuned. We hope that everyone had an enjoyable Thanksgiving holiday and will have a great weekend. All right. So here's what's going on. Aside from all the fluff and jiggle that happens at the executive levels with these places, here's what you need to know, okay? The government has a lot of people still doing the COVID work from home thing. The government had massive inflation, which was due to Biden mishandling the petrodollar and the reserve currency losing its presence in the national, global, financial marketplace, which is another way of saying we had a really bad financial run with Biden. The BRICS nations are running with their new powers to create their own, dominating currencies. And if that happens, basically the U.S. will cluster bleep into mass poverty. And so they won't be able to pay for all the money that they took from your FICA taxes and wrote special bonds with. So when a lot of people are like, oh, there's all this money in the trust funds, there's money here, and the money, a lot of that stuff is converted into special bonds that the government uses to pay for government stuff. They're IOUs. The money's not actually there. It's spent. Anyways, on that happy note, that's the shit show little note right there. You have to understand that because the government had massive inflation, the dollar devalued significantly. What happens now is that a government paycheck to work at the SSA, such as working, at the local field office or DDS, it sucks. It's not much money. It wasn't much money before, and now with the massive devaluation of the dollar, it just doesn't make sense for most people to work at the SSA anymore because you can't live on that. You can't have you could make it, but you can't really live good on that. So for people to stick around and want to get more pension benefits, this benefits, that benefits, whatever, they're going to need more on a yearly basis to continue to work for the SSA. And the SSA has been trying to hire anybody that they can to go ahead and make it happen. And so as a result of that, it's a tough situation because, to be fair, it's a 50-year low. So you go back 50 years from today. So, okay, let's get the actual year here. What is 50 years ago? What was 50 years ago? Okay, so that would be 1973. All right, so let's just go through what happened in 1973. Okay, all right, let's get some details here. We got the Vietnam War with the Paris Peace Accords were signed, ending the U.S.'s involvement in the war. So Vietnam War ended. The Roe v. Wade Supreme Court case ruled in favor of women's rights to have an abortion. It's funny how that happened 50 years ago. Watergate scandal occurred. The trial of the Watergate burglars began shortly before Nixon's second term inauguration. There was an oil crisis with OPEC imposed on all oil embargo, causing an oil crisis. So basically, back when that stuff was happening, that's when the SSA had a certain number of employees. And they today, due to attrition, which is a nice way of saying a lot of people quit, are at the same levels, the same numbers of people. So the SSA is like trying to kiss the tushies of those employees that are still with the SSA. And this is Commissioner Martin O'Malley's way of just right. Get a little kiss to keep them around. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. I think what was one of the great things about Commissioner Martin O'Malley is that he put the knee pads on to basically beg, the people of the SSA, the staffers, to keep working, keep doing what they're doing. Thank you for sticking around, etc. And you would never see that normally from a regular executive. That's why I think Commissioner Martin O'Malley is going to go the long way. He's a classic Democrat. He's not one of these like cabal-y Democrats where they're part of mega money from overseas and yada yada. He is like your classic Democrat. You know what I mean? Wants to help people, sees it from the people's viewpoint, wants to help them, etc. And I've heard he wasn't a great governor or great this or great that. I didn't know him back then, but from a commissioner standpoint with the SSA, there is no other commissioner that did as good of a job. There's none. So the point I'm getting at here is that they don't have enough employees to answer the phone timely, adjudicate disability claims in a reasonable amount. Remember, prior to 2019, most disability claims at the initial filing level took around 3 to 6 months. Nowadays, they're like 14 to 19 months. So 3 to 6 months, and now in the current post-COVID, we're looking at 14 to 19 months for the same amount of time, same adjudication. So the point I'm getting at here, okay, just so that everybody's kind of on board, is that the SSA needed leadership that would inspire the current workers to stay and inspire and teach new workers to come and learn the system. I'm not certain the next commissioner, because remember, we lost O'Malley, now we got Carolyn, now we're going to basically this new one, which is what the new video is about. I'm not sure the new one is up for that with the kissing of the tushies. You know what I mean? To keep them around. So the bottom line is this, we will see what happens, But in the next video, we are going to go through who the next president of the SSA is going to be, who is Trump's pick for commissioner of the Social Security Administration. Attorney Walter Hnot, most of you subscribe to Disability Attorney. Please remember to like and subscribe if you like these update videos. I'm going to head to the next video really quickly so we can do that one and then get to the one where you can call in and ask questions. Bottom line is this: please remember to like and subscribe, but head over to Google and type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Throw our review up there. I always appreciate those on Google. Also, I go live on Mondays and Thursdays. The ironic thing is that I will be going live to answer questions on Thursday, except it's the very beginning of Thursday and not the very end of Thursday like it normally is, because I have to go do my dog's surgery later tomorrow. Technically, it's happening on Friday, but yada, yada. Anyways, Mondays and Thursdays, I usually go live to answer questions. And if you have a big question where you need me to figure something out for you, the 1 hour, like buy an hour of my brain, is below. You get a private session, a little mini contract below in the bio section. I will catch you at the next video shortly, and I will put the link to it in the chat next to this one. Catch you soon. We'll go from there. Attorney Walter Hnot, and thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.